Right.
Yeah.
Not the blitzed out of his mind 1986 Ozzy Osbourne.
Well, and Gene Simmons has no facial hair and
Right.
yeah.
And no makeup. I don't know.
It's just the thing. Oh, Hinata really likes this version of Ozzy. She's like, purr.
Well, he does get me moist too, yes.
Okay, so we're live, and we've on that note.
Rise and shine, my sinners. When Father Evil starts his day, he gets a little deadly. Deadly Grounds coffee has the richest, smoothest flavor you'll find anywhere. It's sinfully delicious. Once you go deadly, you never go back. Order yours at getdeadly.com. Coffee's so good, it's scary.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Greetings and salutations, my wonderful freaks. I am your UncleNecRo, your humble servant tonight. Welcome to the Tomb of the Terrible. Tonight I am joined by the wonderful people from the Owlite Society. We have Delphine over here. If I'm yep. How you doing there? You got squirrely?
I read it, Oscar. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and I also have Fergus, my new Scottish cow.
You know, I'm looking at all y'all, and I might as well. Halloween bear. Boop-a-doop-a-doop. Give me your soul. Anyway, we also have Pyle with us. Hello, Jody and Ron, both with their little avatars. The Mothman and looks like a sloth.
Sloth. This is Junior.
Is that
He's better looking than me. Maybe I'll just keep him on the camera the whole time.
I feel like Mothman would just say, I'm in danger.
Not from a sloth.
I need an adult. Anyway. So tonight.
That's so true with me.
Tonight, we are all Hessians here for the next however long we are on, because tonight, our movie we are discussing is the 1986 rocksploitation classic, Trick or Treat.
Yes.
Now, for the description on the back of the DVD. When he learns of the death of rock star Sammy Kerr, high school student Eddie Weinbauer, also known as Ragman, is given one of his idol's records by a local radio DJ, Nuke, who knew the heavy metal musician personally, but the spirit of Sammy lives on in the record, and he uses the connection to order Eddie to carry out his bidding from beyond the grave. As his demands grow increasingly sinister and violent, Sammy is forced to break free, and only Eddie can stop him from taking their revenge on the pupils of Lake Ridge High School. So,
Because they banned him from playing their high school Halloween's dance special.
How dare them?
It was a band that was banned. Anyway.
I gotta say, looking at that room, it's like a cross between the room in Hellraiser where they resurrect Frank
Yeah.
and my bedroom in high school.
Right.
with the posters and everything going. Because I had like one of those, the attic rooms, and it
Mhm.
was huge. Like I had ridiculous amounts of space there. But like my whole wall, when I first moved in, it was all wainscoting, kind of stuff. And it was just like my ceiling wall thing was covered with all of the stuff from about a little bit after that time, but still about that time.
See, I remember that Gene Simmons poster you painted in art class.
No, that was Doug.
That was Doug.
Yeah,
That
I got
wasn't you.
it
Okay,
though.
that's right.
I took it to college. We had Doug Kennedy, great guy, in our art class, made this huge sign, like put it on the wall of Gene Simmons, and he let me take it. And so in my college dorm room, that was actually covering half the wall because it was like that poster paper, you guys, that the cheerleaders would make the huge signs out of
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah, it was like that size, so it took up like my whole wall in my dorm room
That's
at
awesome.
college.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So going around the room here, initial thoughts. What did you guys think? Delphine.
First, I was going to point out we are missing a couple people tonight.
Yes,
Jenny,
we are.
Friday and Chaos have had some electrical issues. There's a power line down, I think, something like that. A tree fell.
Yeah.
And Raz is working on getting here, so hopefully we'll have him. And good luck to those two. My initial thoughts were, I totally thought I'd watched this movie before, and I had not.
Really?
So yeah, it was one of those that was on my list that I must have confused with something else. I think what I had it confused with was the one with the video game where the character came out and came to life.
Okay.
Either that or Heavy Metal might have been the movie that I was thinking of. I'm not sure.
Heavy Metal is animated.
Okay, then it wasn't Heavy Metal. But there was some movie that I thought I watched this as. I thought it was really actually not that terrible. It, for the time, the graphics were okay. It had some corny stuff to it though. Like there was some total cheese, and it really took a hold and really exploited the hell out of the Satanic Panic at the time. So
Yeah, totally did. And I love the irony of.
Hey, Tom Dog.
Hey, Tommy.
Oh, and we have somebody, Katrina Jernand. I just watched this for the first time right after Halloween and fell in love with it. Hard to find, but it came in a streaming service called Screambox.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Nice.
Now I need to buy it.
Oh, yes.
Awesome.
So.
Glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah. Some of the cheeseball stuff, like the opening part where it's kind of a montage of showing how Ragman was always so bullied and put upon by his school students. It was a lot of the bullying wasn't really. I don't understand how. I mean, they're trying. I don't know if they're trying to go for more of a Degrassi Junior High kind of setup here, but one of the bullying methods was poking a hole in the milk carton, and he spills milk on his shirt. Wah, wah, wah.
I don't know how they did that without him noticing, unless they knew exactly which milk container he was going to grab.
Right.
But before we go into the specific, let's see what everybody else thought.
Yeah, yeah. Pyle, you're up. What did you think?
Honestly, there was some good acting, and then there was some that just caught me off, like really cheesy in some points. Also, I thought it was really interesting how he could go from anything that played the music, be it a speaker here, a speaker there, and that was kind of the main problem with just, getting rid of him. So creativity on that part.
Oh yeah. I love how he's breaking everything down, but we got another comment. Wasn't my favorite flick, but it could have been because I was really hung up on Krueger at the time. There you go.
Good point.
Right.
He did have the half-burned face. But
I will point out that this movie came out in 1986, correct?
Correct.
And that was what year I was born. So this is also somewhere me going back to. So this was what happened when I was born, right?
Oh yeah, I cannot tell you how many times I accidentally released the soul of of a satanic metal god by playing my records. And once we switched to CDs, things got a little better. But
well, I was saying in the world of different movies and what came out that year, it's always a
Pyle,
blast.
just imagine that's what your parents looked like when you were born.
Okay.
Fair enough.
The movie that came out the year I was born, that was like the big Oscar draw, and I have a crush on it. It was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which had Brad Dourif, who was my secret boyfriend. It was his first big movie performance. So, yeah.
oh. So, Ron, you have thoughts?
Unfortunately,
Okay.
I try not to. They tend to get me in trouble. But since you're asking, I didn't think this movie really sucked at all. I believe that it came out around the same time that Nightmare on Elm Street did, or at least one of the Nightmare on Elm Streets, because I thought that the graphics and the makeup looked very similar in appearance. They both had the same kind of tone. However, after watching the movie, I think that there are things I would have done differently as a writer rather than how the movie actually played out. But for the time that it came out, I understand, this is what people were into when they probably thought it was a pretty great movie for the time that it actually did come out. I think if this movie right now, I think would be very good fodder for a remake and an update for today's technology and today's standard of horror. You could basically use the same premise, but now you've got MP3 players and you've got everybody with the phone. So it would be much, much, much harder to try to destroy all of the sound emitting devices that could play the music to get rid of the demon. You could update the graphics, update the makeup. I think that this movie would probably play out a lot better today than it did back then.
You'd have to have like a huge EMP to knock out each area of sound, I think.
That does raise the question, would the demon, depending on the encoding of the MP3, would the demon be stronger if it was at 320 megabytes or just 128?
Like the standard 128 megahertz or 320, 256, whatever it is. I don't know. That's a really good question. Maybe the more compressed it is from MP3 to MP4 or AVEC format,
right?
It would be a lot harder to disembody the demon.
He accidentally encoded himself in OGG, and he only works on Linux.
Winamp.
He only works on Winamp. I was born in 1973, and I was when this movie came out, I was just starting up with the horror that was 7th grade, and this movie speaks to me simply because I am Ragman.
Katrina, same year. I was born on Halloween though, so no lie. Yeah, I get a bunch of shit for that. So
but
yeah, that's why I am the way I am.
As you may have noticed, I absolutely adore this movie. It's, as Ron mentioned, it doesn't suck. However, it is on the same spectrum as, I call it rocksploitation, where they use the genre of rock and roll and metal, and especially the fan base therein, and use it to conjure up monsters and write the whole horror genre about. And in the 80s, with the perfect storm of the Satanic Panic and Tipper Gore starting the PMRC over certain records, and everybody just flipping out, and it was a fun time. I mean, it backfired a lot because all of the records that had to get the stickers, they sold more, and it just raised the mystique. Yeah.
Well, we should talk about that as well, because Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne both play bit parts in the movie. And
Yes.
both of those artists were criticized at the time for having satanic messages in their music.
I should.
So I find it, juxtaposed, a juxtaposition. Maybe they thought of that when they wrote this movie that said, hey, it would be cool if we get two artists that have been accused of having satanic messages in their music to come be in this movie, and one of them is speaking out against it, the one that's been accused the most.
Mhm.
Right.
I think
Right.
that turned out really well. Oh, so I keep bumping my mic, guys. I'm really sorry about that. Real quick from Katrina again. Wow, my birthday is this Thursday. Happy early birthday.
Oh,
Metalhead in school and loved hair metal, rock, classic rock, metal all my life. I was also metalhead in school, so it brought back some memories. I'll shut up now.
no.
I got
We
to tell you
don't
something.
want you to shut up. We want you to keep commenting.
Yeah, we want you to keep commenting. I'm wearing Disturbed tonight instead of I was gonna wear Slayer, but I couldn't find it. It was in the
So I do
watched it.
have to point something out about her comment.
Mhm.
Her comment said her birthday is this Thursday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you, and congratulations. We share a birthday.
Oh, wow.
Heavy metal birthday.
You are going to die. Anyway.
You're going to turn another year older.
You are
Aw.
older than me. By my-
Only those who are born are the ones who get to die. Anyway, should for the most part, the soundtrack to this movie is pretty good. It's handled by most of the songs are written by Fastway, and if you don't know who that is, it was the culmination of the guitarist, Motorhead guitarist, Fast Eddie Clark, with another singer of another band I can't remember, but Fast Eddie Clark was in there, and they had a few records out. They did sound a bit like, with the vocalist, they kind of sounded like some would say AC/DC, but I would, it's more leaning more towards Cinderella.
Rat.
Ellie Guns a little bit too.
Yeah. And what was that band in Europe there? Crocus. Crocus.
Thank you.
If you're familiar with those guys, they're basically like what if Bon Scott lived and kept making records in the 80s? That's what Crocus sounds like.
Okay.
So it's not too bad, but the guy who played Ragman, he played Skippy in the 80s sitcom
Ew.
Family Ties.
I've been trying
So-
to figure out who he was for forever.
But I have to mention that Gene Simmons as the DJ was probably the better actor of all of these people in this movie, and he was playing his part as a tribute to Wolfman Jack.
Okay,
So
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
he had a little bit of a flair. I love that hat he was wearing. But
He had the boots to match too, because he propped his feet up on the console.
mhm. But
It was a very Wolfman Jack thing to do.
yeah,
For those of you who aren't familiar with Wolfman Jack, I'm sure you can find videos of him online as well. But if you watch the movie American Graffiti, directed by, I think it was Ron Howard at the time. Was that one?
no, it was Ron Howard starred in it, but it was directed by George Lucas.
Okay. Wolfman Jack plays himself in American Graffiti.
Yeah.
What was that? I didn't see the last part. Oh.
So
Oh, butt parts. Death to all butt metal. Wait.
That's all button.
what?
Right.
What? Yeah, don't get me started about that. But anyway, so Katrina, you want to join the show? Somebody send it a link there.
There's
Anyway,
been a lot of tributes to Wolfman Jack too. So yeah, he's kind of throughout the years he's an icon. So
yeah, never had the pleasure of actually hearing him on the radio because I'm not really that old, but I know who he was. He was kind of an American icon, and ironically, he worked mostly in Mexico, didn't he? Kind of across the border from California for reasons, I believe.
That I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me.
You can talk more in Rock all day.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. And then we can go out for like shakes and I don't know. Anyway, the movie. I'm talking about Trick or Treat. This movie is one of my favorites simply because, as I mentioned, I identify with the character of Ragman so much, in that I was at the same right age. I was just getting into the harder stuff, like my story is I got into metal because of the band Wham, and that's because my uncle heard me listening to Wham and said, here's AC/DC and Ted Nugent. Listen to better music. Yeah. Hi, Myra. But
Mariah.
Myra.
That does actually present a good
Larry.
question, James. How did all of us get into listening to metal?
And do all of us here enjoy the metals?
I mean, I grew up on it. There was not allowed being any country in my house, and we would sneak off to other friends' houses to listen to country music and get into other types of music.
Out. You're fired.
I got into Tesla and a little bit of stuff on the radio, and then I started buying like the Thrasher magazines and stuff. But James and I, we went to the same high school, which had a rural route, if this helps at all. He was a year ahead of me in high school. And so he was all hardcore metal. And I tried to like find stuff, but in the closest town where I worked, which is where I learned a lot more about metal music, I had a lot of friends that were in bands and people were playing stuff when we worked. You work in a kitchen or a restaurant. When you go in the kitchen, you hear metal music like all the time. But the only tape stores tape stores that they had were like Christian places, which refused to carry it because it was like, so we'd have to go to Omaha or send away for music. Like, I took a class trip to Washington, D.C., and all of the money that I took, rather than buying souvenirs, was spent going to record stores in Washington, D.C., where I could get a hold of the things that were in my magazines.
Same.
So,
very much same.
It was really hard.
Had I known, I would have tried to focus a little bit more on the scene, like the hardcore punk scenes there, and a lot of the local homegrown metal that was in Washington, D.C. when I went. But as far as I started gradually with the regular hard rock. The only station that seemed to play it was one called Z92 here, and even then, they wouldn't play the Metallica or anything. Then it would graduate to more of the popular hard rock and the metal, like what we call hair metal now, or the glam metal.
Right.
And then I discovered Metallica. And then the year that, that same year, 1986, I asked my great aunt to buy me the new Iron Maiden album, which was Somewhere in Time, and she got it for me. And that was also a gateway into, that led to Metallica, that led to, a lot of the harder stuff, let's just say. Dell over here was the one who actually introduced me to the likes of Suicidal Tendencies. And
I took a screenshot during Trick or Treat when he's destroying his room. He has a Pepsi can that slowly falls over.
I saw
and
that.
I was like, all the guy wanted was a Pepsi, but he wouldn't give it to him. Just a Pepsi.
That's you have the screenshot. Let's see it.
I have to pull it up.
Okay, that's the exact same thing I thought too. Like, all I wanted was a Pepsi, but they wouldn't give it to me. That's because Ragman had it.
Right.
Jerk.
Product placement.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
So, Ron, how did you get into metal?
How did I get into metal? To be honest, my household was 1950s and 60s classics because that's what my parents grew up on. And my mom liked country music. My dad liked Gary Stewart. So it took me a while before I branched out on my own and got into metal. I grew up on Alan Sherman and Ray Stevens and Weird Al Yankovic. Metal
Yeah.
did not happen until I got into high school. I took art classes all 4 years of high school. And while we were in art class, we were allowed to listen to whatever we wanted.
Right.
So somebody would bring in a selection of music, put it on the sound system, and that's what we listened to for that day. This is where I got introduced to Pink Floyd, which became my passion in high school. I loved me some Pink Floyd, still do, still one of my top 10 all-time favorite bands. But that's how I got introduced to the Cult, Clash, The Cure, Kinks, all those other The bands. And it's about that time where I think maybe Kill 'Em All or Master of Puppets came out. Let's see, I think Kill 'Em All was 81 and Puppets was 83, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So those were played in art class. And I didn't think too much about it at the time. I didn't know a lot about the music. Then I had a cousin named Greg. Greg was a couple years younger than me, but he was a total metalhead already. And he introduced me to Metallica. He's like, dude, Ron, you got to hear this band. So he played me the entire And Justice for All album. And I'm trying to listen to it with an open mind. And it gets to that one blast beat in one. You know, and I thought that was just like the coolest thing ever. So Metallica became my next best thing. I became the guy, I hate to say it, I was trench coat mafia. I wore the black trench coat. I had on the Walkman headphones, just blasting Kill 'Em All on repeat, like all day long, not really paying attention in class. That was me. And that's kind of how I got into metal. But then it completely went a whole new direction when I was up visiting Greg and Greg's family over some holiday. I don't remember what it was. I want to say Easter, but it could have been something else. And I was up late one night watching Headbangers Ball, and they played the video for Sabotage, Gutter Ballet, and I was entranced. Sabotage very quickly became my all-time favorite band. I went out the very next day and I bought everything I could find from them, and I've been diehard ever since. And from then on, it was just, I want to learn how to play this stuff. So hence all the guitars and music around me. I walked into my first guitar class in November of 1989. And the guitar instructor, his name was John something. He says, what do you want to learn? I said, I want to be able to play that second solo from Pink Floyd's Comfortably Numb. He said, okay, I can teach you that. But first, you have to learn what I want you to learn. And if you do that, you can play anything you want. I went, okay, let's do it. Nice. And I've been into it ever since.
Nice.
So Katrina's hopped in here with, I listened to Poison, Warrant, Skid Row, and then GNR came out, and that was it for me. I fell in love, and even now, they're my all-time favorite band. Ask my kids whose mom's favorite band is, and they will automatically say GNR. But my parents got me into rock. The Eagles, Bad Company, AC/DC, etc. My parents are rockers too. And, yep, one got me first with Metallica.
Yep.
Yeah, see, I never had the pleasure of having rockers for parents. Mom was big into Elvis, but that, mostly it was oldies kind of stuff. I had to find my own identity through this, especially in high school. I mean, Guns N' Roses was my all-time favorite at one point, and then I got really big on Metallica because somebody let me borrow their copy of And Justice for All. That blew my mind. and I started getting into their previous releases, and each album that they released previously fastly became like big favorites of mine. I mean, I think I like. I really do think I like Ride the Lightning better than Master of Puppets, but it's by a very, very narrow margin. Now, imagine what happened in 1991 when the Black Album came out, and then all the fellow students of mine who were, now I wouldn't say mocking me, but were giving me grief.
Shit.
Yeah, gave us shit for listening to Metallica, are suddenly asking to borrow my collection because, their boyfriends got tickets to Metallica and they want to know what, and I'm like, you don't understand. But yeah, so I had to kind of branch out from there fastly. That's when I discovered Megadeth, and their first album that I got from there was Rust in Peace, which blew my fucking mind.
Holy Wars, man.
Out of my nose.
Best Megadeth song ever. And I don't say that lightly because, believe me, Megadeth was in my rotation in high school too, with Killing Is My Business, Peace Sells, and So Far So Good So What, which I'll still contend So Far So Good So What is still my second favorite Megadeth album after Holy Wars, Rust in Peace. And I bought that in, I think, summer of 91. We did a field trip to Washington, D.C.
We all got our music in
record
DC.
store, and I specifically bought that CD, and then I spent the rest of the day in my bunk at the place that we were staying, just listening to it, and like,
oh yeah. But then I also found the likes of Overkill, Testament, all those fun thrashers. Then I went to college and discovered death metal. And my tastes have gotten darker and harder as time has progressed. I understand, I have an appreciation for, the power metal and prog metal and all that stuff, but I do tend to, death metal and thrash metal are my top two faves.
I did get that screenshot loaded, by the way. So
Okay.
I'm gonna show you guys 3 fun shots. One of them has my screen bottom on it because I don't want to take the time to cut it off. But here is your product placement: Pepsi as the room is being destroyed. It slowly falls down and pours onto the record.
The Taste Born in the Carolinas.
This shot killed me. The guy is able to pull or to affect things. Sammy is able to affect things through any speaker, and he reaches into the TV as one of the teachers at the school is on complaining about metal music and pulls her body and burns it to a crisp. And this is our main character's best friend, and it's at his house that this happens, and he just decides he's going to try to vacuum up these giant chunks of burnt dead teacher, which just had me dying. And then this was my favorite thing, and I didn't get a very good shot of it, but the guy Sammy is chasing them down and trying to stay alive through his music and coming through speakers, and he only has a couple of these albums out. So we get to see as he's chased them into the bathroom,
Right.
and he's shooting off lightning, and they stick his hand in the toilet, and he's stuck in the toilet, just
Well, that's because they hit the flush.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's also where he figures out at the end that water hurts him because he's electricity based.
Well, yeah.
Which is why he drives the car off the end at the end and into the river.
No.
Yeah,
I don't know if you got any screenshots from
that's all I got.
The concert during the Halloween party where
At the high school. Yeah.
That's one of my favorite scenes. Is essentially he appears on stage after killing the lead singer / guitarist, grabs the guitar out of the air, and now he's standing there, and it's just this awkward silence from the crowd staring at him, and he's like, ta-da! Nothing. So he starts beating his thigh, and everybody's like, what the fuck? Okay, yeah, just clap along. But I always get a laugh out of that because I've been in that situation.
Well,
and it's
you ever watch a battle of the bands?
Yeah.
else in the band is like giving a shit that they just he just hopped in, killed their lead singer. They're just like, oh, dude,
Yeah, like nobody reacts. So like they're not like, holy shit, what did he
I like
like,
the comment. I like the comment right after that where the girl's like, wow, this Sammy's better than the original.
Right.
I was like, yep, there you go.
Yeah. We didn't really like that new guy anyway, so he's dead.
So maybe Dell got a screenshot of this. I don't know, but there's one thing in the movie that I would have changed if it had been me, if I had been the one writing it, and it's the scene at the parking spot where what's the name, Billy the Bully, whatever his name is, getting it on with the girl in the back seat and all of that. And then he gets out of the car to go take a piss. Everybody's been in that situation.
Really long time.
Well, it depends on how much alcohol you drink. I've been there.
Maybe he would need to get that looked at. I don't know. That sounds like a prostate.
So then
he had to find the right spot.
She puts the headphones on, and the music starts playing backwards. From the tape that Ragman had made, and it starts melting her ears. But then you get one shot of the demon itself, which is what freaks her out. And if it had been me, I would not have put the demon in there.
Yeah,
that did seem like an odd
Sammy
choice.
shows up later. Why wouldn't you just use that as Sammy's first appearance? Why does it have to be something completely different?
Yeah, that was a
good question.
And it was kind of a Ghostbuster gargoyle looking demon too.
And he looked kind of sad and like, oh, why are you screaming?
That scene was so dark that I wasn't quite sure exactly what I was looking at. There wasn't nothing that you could really grab onto the detail, understand exactly what you're looking at. And I really thought it was like a freaking hobgoblin with a long ass tongue.
Well, here's where I would have done it different. Rather than showing the demon, this is where I think I would have gone psychological, because you have the little green mist that shows up on the screen, that CGI generated, the special effects that they were able to do at the time.
That melts your ears.
I wouldn't have used that at all. I would still have done with the headphones melting to the head, because that was really freaking cool the way that they did that. But I would have made it psychological, where you don't actually know what's happening. All you can hear is the music playing backwards. So the audience can interpret, she's listening to the tape that Ragman made, but it was supposed to be for Billy, I think his name was. I could be wrong. I don't remember now. We know it was supposed to be for him, not her. So I would have kept it psychological, that then the cops show up, as cops usually do in those kind of situations, to get kids to move along and not be making out in the back seat. And the cops find this dead body of this girl in the back seat. Now he's held accountable because he can't explain what happened.
Right.
I would still have gone psychological, because then once he's released, the cops release him because they've got no evidence to hold him. That's when he shows up to Ragman's house and says, "Stay the fuck away from me."
Which, irony of ironies, he goes to him to say, "Stay away from me."
Yeah, when all Ragman wanted was for him to stay away from him. If he stayed away from him to begin with, none of this would have happened.
Why can't I quit you?
Tom Dog went in the 80s. I listened to Metallica, AC/DC, Van Halen, Aerosmith, Motley Crue, and Guns N' Roses. In the 90s, I was into Nirvana and Red Hot Chili Peppers.
So you were a poser.
All good bands.
On the aside, what do you think the best Red Hot Chili Peppers album was?
What?
On the aside, what do you think the best Red Hot Chili Peppers album was?
Mother's Milk.
I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to disagree. It was Blood Sugar Sex Magic.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope, sorry. Mother's Milk.
I do like Blood Sugar Sex Magic.
You have every right to be wrong.
The one that had Higher Ground on it. Their cover of, what was it, Stevie Wonder song, Higher Ground?
That would be Mother's Milk.
And for that reason, and I think that reason alone, that album is way overplayed. And but I thought with Blood Sugar Sex Magic, it was just like a whole unique style all their own, with kind of funk and doing a little bit of metal. There was nothing else like it at the time.
That's adorable.
My mother sent me the best the best cover of Under the Bridge that I've seen so far, and it's this guy who does it with squeaking chickens.
Mhm.
They're like rubber chickens that squeak, and it was and she's got him doing background. Like, she didn't do it, obviously she found it, and it was just like, I don't know this song, but it seems like something that you would have listened to.
You see,
I was like, you would be correct.
You guys are so big on the Red Hot Chili Peppers, you don't understand that the greatest one of that kind of style is the Infectious Grooves, because it has members of the Suicidal Tendencies, and Robert Trujillo is the bass player in there, and it was just awesome.
I feel like I'm going to get kicked out of this group just because I never bought any of the CDs. I just listened to the music that everybody else had. And then when I start getting into actual being able to have computers and stuff like that, we were downloading. We were MP3ing. We were this and that. We were the generation that, how dare you not support the music?
You
But
kind
the
of
thing
are.
is, I went through and I paid money and went to concerts. The rest of
I
them
was
were like,
far.
whatever.
Well,
Didn't
well,
know that.
what you whippersnappers don't understand is we had this thing called tape trading, and we would wait for hours
We
with
recorded our
radio
stuff
on.
Oh yeah. That being said, I have done that. Like, recorded off of the radio and then been like, okay, 3,
You're like-
2, 1, click. Yeah.
And here's hoping
okay.
the DJ doesn't talk over the introduction.
Exactly.
Right.
Jeez.
Right.
I mean,
So,
And-
James, I will concede that I will go back and I will listen to Mother's Milk with an open mind and see if my opinion will change, but I doubt it. But I will give it a second
catchier.
chance.
And Katrina, since you brought that up, Nirvana they themselves have conceded that they were just ripping up the Pixies and the Melvins. So they made it popular, yes. But if you read the book, Everyone Loves Our Town, you would understand that the whole grunge sensation came out long before the 90s happened.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, that lead singer for the Foo Fighters looks exactly like the drummer for Nirvana.
No joke, though. That was a trivia question on a radio station once. And did you know that David Grohl, the lead singer of the Foo Fighters, used to play drums for a band called Nirvana?
See, if I was going to be haunted by a musician of some sort, I would like it to be Dave Grohl. I don't want him to die for that to happen, of course.
Studio 666.
And the thing is I'm not a huge like Foo Fighters fan. I enjoy what I have heard of them, but I haven't sought them out. But Dave Grohl is like the nicest guy in the world, just about in the music industry. Like him or David Draymond, of course, would be fun, but I don't want any of them tonight. But it seems to me like Dave Grohl would be like the most chipper, haunting person that you'd have. He'd be like, "Hey, everybody, I'm here, and we're gonna have a good time." Yeah, you'd just be like,
Scott Ian of Anthrax has appeared in my dreams 3 times, and Dave Mustaine at least 4.
Glenn Danzig is in my mind palace, and I didn't put him there on purpose. He just showed up one day.
It's the body.
Where am I? Where's my cat?
I was that chick that was raised with parents who made sure I understood the early rock music as well. I moved through phases, but it's always rock in some form. Cream, Hendrix, Joplin, Queen, Kansas, Metallica, Iron Maiden, Silverchair, Nirvana, Creed, etc. It's kind of Mom was a huge Joplin fan. Other than that, though, I got a lot of and Katrina, unfortunately, I missed out on most of the grunge era. I was in an abusive. I'm sorry.
Ooh,
Really got out of the late '90s and then got back to music. Well, I'm glad you got back into them.
glad you got out of that though.
Yeah,
Stone Temple Pilots is great. Yeah.
And in our area, I don't know if like James, UncleNecRo and I have Hessian on our things, and this was a thing. I don't know if it is in the rest of the country or if it was just a like Midwestern Plains area thing. But if you listen to basically rock and heavy metal and grunge or any of a combination of them kind of together, you were a Hessian. It was just
Right.
what everybody called us. And so it's what and you wore like the ripped jeans maybe and a flannel and your metal shirts and stuff. But whether you were a headbanger or more into the grunge / alternative when it first came out, as it was known as, and that kind of stuff, we were all Hessians together. Or even just older rock. It was,
It's a family.
yeah, it was a thing. So I don't know if that was, if you guys had that too or not.
Not in North Carolina.
Okay, because people are like, are you an army or are you material? And I'm like, no.
Okay.
No
So-
I
shit.
don't think people in North Carolina at that time would have known what a Hessian was.
The Hessians were the German mercenaries that the Redcoats hired to. Anyway, going back to the movie, though, I do want to say
that's why we're here.
we're talking about a movie.
Oh, we're talking about a movie?
You're having
But-
fun with me. This
Yes.
has been a good show.
It is a great show, but that Ragman's mullet was superb. Great mullet. I've had several of those in the past. It was the 80s. It was my parents wanted me to have that.
You wouldn't know it by looking at me.
Right. Parents always wanted me to be the clean-cut conservative type of haircut. The mullet was the compromise where I can have the long hair, but also the short hair to appease my parents.
So who did a rat tail? Because that was like the tiniest form of rebellion you could possibly have.
That was the most absurd I saw. I think there was a bacon in our class that had one briefly.
Did Alan?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
It was brief. It was brief.
He was very blonde, so it must have been something you didn't really notice, unless you were staring and I didn't.
If you watch,
no offense, Alan, you're a nice guy.
Because he always
I was
watches
looking
our
with you later,
show, of course.
But didn't notice that you had a rat tail because I didn't check you out that much.
If you watch the video for Ice Ice Baby, he's rocking a rather long rat tail down his back there. So
I knew somebody who had a rat tail that went by rat, but he spelled it like the band.
Mm-hmm.
So
I see.
It was just a coincidence that he grew his hair that way as well.
When I was younger, my dad always reminded me that we went to a wedding one time. I had a mullet, and when I was at this wedding, I was dressed. No kidding, and I don't know how my parents dressed me like this for a wedding, but I had a mullet. I had some kind of dressed up shirt, not really, a pair of blue jeans, and elephant skinned cowboy boots on. And that was also the wedding that I turned around and kicked a guy in the shin, and he almost grabbed me by my mullet.
How do you get? I never heard of elephant skin boots. Is this an area thing, a regional thing?
This was something that back when I was younger, you could still get elephant skin products, and there was a pair of elephant skin cowboy boots, and they found them. They gave them to me, and I think I still have them in a box. My feet don't fit in them no more, but
I had a pair of ostrich skin boots. I bought them in Nogales.
Apparently, the mullets have come back.
I have seen them.
18-year-old, and you would be surprised how many teens have mullets and/or long hair. I know the long hair. My 18-year-old has musical taste. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's actually a mullet competition that they just had not too long ago. Just seen that on TikTok.
Yeah.
I saw a mullet family once. Those kind of creeped me out. Like
The mullet family?
Yeah, we were at Worlds of Fun, and I was probably in my 30s, and so back like a decade or so ago. Yeah, and there was like the mom and dad they were all blonde, and like the mom had the mullet and the dad had the mullet, and then they like were standing there. It's like, wow, mullets. And then a bunch of their kids came running up to them. They were waiting for their kids to get off a ride, and like all of their kids between the ages of like 4 or 5 and into their teens were all wearing mullets. Like they all matched too. They all had them at the same lengths and stuff.
So-
And it was like,
Right.
So, like the Joe Dirt family.
but I've seen things so similar. Yeah.
Okay. So,
Mom and Dad
Anywho.
didn't love you. That's why they named you Joe Dirt.
Okay. So back to trick or treat.
anyway.
Okay.
Oh yeah, back to that.
Oh,
You've been drinking
right.
tonight. I'm letting you
Movie.
drink. What'd you
Right, the
miss?
movie. I liked it. But if we're going to talk a bit of trivia, the guy who played Sammy used to be a solid gold dancer
Really?
back in the day. Yeah, from like
Okay,
79.
I had to watch Solid Gold all the time because my dad was all about the Solid Gold dancers, but I don't think him. I don't know if anybody else had to watch Solid Gold. If you guys don't know what it is out there,
Yeah.
it was like.
Yeah, we were a Solid Gold household as well. It was my sister's favorite show.
Yeah, they started off with all these little booty shakers and stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Also, the role of Sammy Kerr, Sammy Kerr, was also first offered to Blackie Lawless of Wasp, but he turned it down because the script wasn't something that was up to his standards.
Really?
Yeah, I thought
Oh, that amazing acting.
yeah, and
I
also
Picture. I'm sorry. Go ahead, James.
I was just going to point out that Gene Simmons was also offered the part of Sammy Kerr, but he turned that down too. But I think they went with a pretty good choice. But Ron, what were you going to say?
I found a picture of myself my freshman year in college with a mullet. If anybody's interested,
Yes, of course we are.
Show us the mullet.
I will see if I can do this. I haven't presented here before, so I don't know if I can do this. How do I show just the one picture?
It shows you can share a screen if you have it up on one page. It'll show whatever screen you're on, or you can put it in a separate window, or you can put it up in the thing and I'll just post it. If you want to just send it to me, I can post it. Because, yeah, Katrina would like to see it.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
mullet.
Ron, I just want to tell you right now, you have such a great hairline right now.
Don't I though?
I would have probably dated Sammy if I had a chance. I think even after the fire.
Mhm.
Okay, you want me to put it up?
Yeah,
This
Nice.
is Ron with a mullet.
and the porn stash. That's
Oh.
what sells it.
My goodness, do you have eyebrows?
I was 18 years old in that picture.
Those eyebrows look like they're about to succeed.
I just looked at the picture and I didn't even know that was you right off the bat. And I started thinking, who's the guy that's the pedophile?
So look at the difference in the hair.
I was being nice. Called it a
I'm
porn.
sorry. Well, there's those lines, and I thought, well, that's the height chart. And then I was like, oh, this is his ID. My bad. I'm sorry, Ron. I apologize.
Wow, you're killing me, man.
I'm laughing at you. I had the really long hair through my senior year in high school. And then I shaved it up to here, but I seriously have thick enough hair that you couldn't tell it had been shaved off unless I pulled it up. And so then I'd sometimes wear this ponytail or the flop kind of thing going for a while. Because that would have been in 94 or so when I was doing that. And did I had it shaved up and I think cut it from here down to chin length in the front. But then I always end up growing it all back because I'm not right. I identify with my hair, if that makes sense. So when I dream, I have my hair and everything. Yeah. I have dreams where I get to become a Cenobite, but I make sure that they don't remove my hair because most Cenobites are bald and And I'm like, I'll take all the pins, I'll take everything. You can give me chains, you can cut up whatever, but you gotta leave the hair, okay?
I'm sorry. For some reason, I thought you said Cinnabon, and I was thinking, why did you want to be a pastry? And I'm like, and you said it again, and I'm like, oh, I'm on the wrong. I'm sorry.
From
I do enjoy a good
She
Cinnabon, though.
legitly wanted to be a snack.
from the
I
abundance of
identify
the
with
heart, the
babies.
mouth speaks.
No, I am a crow with very long hair. So
Okay, so we've been at this for nearly an hour, most of it about music.
yeah,
Which
this
is
is the
great.
longest episode we've done about this. I love that we're getting people involved, though, like learn about people's music tastes and stuff. James, did you do? Oh wait, we got more. There's a sophomore pic of me with my Facebook photos with my hair ratted, long, and sky high. That was 1990. You'll have to bring it and
Nice.
share it next time. Like, send it to one of us, and we will put it up and be like, "This is Katrina. She is our buddy. She likes
One-
metal music. She has poofy hair."
Anybody else who is watching or listening, if you want to send us your senior pics from whenever it was, we will post them all up here. I have one where I'm carrying my electric guitar and wearing my AC/DC t-shirt as one of my senior pics. So
I had curly hair, and my stepsister kind of did it for me for senior pick. So you will see, and there's one where she did it in high school, and it had like I had bangs up to here because I didn't really have bangs, so it was like you could
that,
put it
that
as
was
high as you wanted, and then it went down.
that
I think
really
that was
was
your.
the
Okay. We had a girl who her hair was so big that her senior picture, like everybody else, like their face, if you know, its side takes up like if here's the side of the picture, their faces like take up this much of it. But her hair was so big, she literally was like this small of a head inside of her pic because her hair was so. They did the ratted bangs, and then everything else went around.
See.
And
kids these days. I see TikToks of kids trying to emulate the 80s style, but they don't understand what they got is nothing compared to the Aquanet that we had back then.
I was just gonna say Aquanet Orange, man, it bonded everybody together because you had the
Literally and
girls that you could
figuratively.
bounce quarters off of their perms because they had their hair that like you could grab one hair and their whole head went like this.
They could
And
ride a
then
motorbike and
punk rock.
not need to wear a helmet.
If you needed the motorcycles, the motorcycle mohawks,
Yes,
mohawks
those
and
two.
motorcycles, those don't go well together because you can't put a helmet over a mohawk. I hadn't been able to figure out though. Like I tried doing hawks with my hair, and then I couldn't get in my car to drive because I was my head was too tall. You like sitting like this driving, trying
I
to
always
get around.
favored the flap over mohawk that I had during
Yeah,
the 90s.
I that's what I stuck with was just the flop.
I've never
back
had
to
a
the movie.
mohawk.
You never had a mohawk?
Never had a mohawk. I've shaved the sides of my head before, but usually like only one side, and I did that in college too. And that,
Did you do the
you know,
lines?
on retrospect, it was not a good look for me.
Mhm.
But I've never had a mohawk. Now I have
I
the
just-
reverse mohawk where there's no hair up here and it's all over here.
Guys, how many rabbit trails have we gone down tonight?
Oh, geez.
Many.
Oh, wow.
Mostly the same ones though.
I don't have enough
True.
fingers and toes to count that.
Right. So, just as no, I don't have any 5-star reviews that I could find simply because most of those were like good movie, good quality, yay, and
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask.
kind of like that. But overall, would you recommend this to your closest friends or anyone who hasn't really seen this?
I actually would because it wasn't as I mean like we've watched some shit movies, and not all of those have been put on this show yet. But
No.
James and I did some in the past too that we'll eventually get around to.
Yes.
But this one was actually like there were some scenes and some of the acting was just like what this
Mhm.
was kind of poorly done. This doesn't make sense. But overall, it was a decent, okay flick, I think. And if you're looking back at the 80s and want to see what it was like and what we were, if you want to experience the Satanic Panic and see it in a very interesting way, I think, yeah.
Oh yeah. Pyle.
It's one of those video or movies that I honestly believe that everybody should watch everything and just give everything a shot. And this is one of those that it wasn't to the point that I was like, yeah, I'm done with this. Let me go take my popcorn and go watch something else. I mean, it leads a lot to be desired for my taste, but it's still, I understand how old it is, and that
It's as old as you are.
I know, right?
Mm.
There you go.
Oh my God! What
Oh my
happened?
gosh.
You were so good.
You were the best
What
friend
happened,
in the
Kyle?
movie, dude.
Dude.
You look totally like the best friend.
Oh, since you brought that up, yeah, the
Look.
guy who
Except his hair's a different color. But
that
you
guy. Okay, that guy. This was his only acting credits. He went on to become a writer, producer on a lot of movies.
I hope he was better at that.
Oh,
And
he
wasn't
was.
bad. He wasn't terribly bad.
No.
But he picked a kind of shite part to be.
Yeah,
As
but
far as
he definitely made a name of himself for a lot of the movies that he wrote and directed and produced. So he's doing well.
good job, sir.
Ron, what did you think?
I believe yes. I would recommend this movie, and here's why.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is more an accurate representation of the 80s than a lot of movies that are out there that try to recreate the 80s based on what they thought the 80s looked like and not what the 80s actually looked like.
Mm-hmm.
This movie was made in the 80s using the current styles that were available at the time, talking about topics that were also relevant at the time. So it is pure 80s. It's not trying to be an 80s movie. It simply is because it is an 80s movie. If people, younger generations who want to know what the 80s were like, this is probably a better representation of the 80s than a lot of stuff that's out there that says it's an 80s movie.
I will absolutely agree with that. And, one of the things that did catch me about this is the radio station. The local radio station we have in our county still looks like that. It really does. It is a few rooms and a area where you actually put everything together. And in the last 10 years, they actually got rid of the actual giant reels.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting that you bring that up, Pyle, because my friend Des was watching the movie while I was watching it, and she made the comment that the radio station is way out in the middle of nowhere. I said, that's not unheard of, because that's the way it was back then. They put the radio stations out in the middle of nowhere so that they could build the towers to have the best broadcast position to have the farthest reach on the signal. It's not like today where everything is digital and there's no airwaves for it to go out over, because it's all going to be, transmitted through wires. Back then, you wanted the radio station to be isolated, so you weren't getting a lot of cross voice from other radio stations and other signals that would interfere with it. That was
right, and that's the whole little thing that WMVR used to play, broadcasting straight to you from a little spot in the middle of a cornfield. That's absolutely true. There is cornfields wrapped around this radio station still today. And that was one of the things that got me, even Huey Dewey, when that movie came out, that was one of the big things of their radio station being in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
And it's how you kidnap the DJs, too. Because, it isn't as easy for Chop Top to walk into a radio station in the middle of downtown as it is in an isolated spot, or to grabs. Wasn't it Sherry Moon Zombie? What wasn't one of the, what was that? Something
Lords of Chaos.
Something of Salem.
Yeah, Lords of Salem.
Lords of Salem, wasn't she?
Yeah.
I got it mistaken for the black metal movie. Jeez.
No. Rob Zombie, not black metal.
Okay. But
yeah, it makes it so that, but I don't know how many people actually know that that's not coincidental, that really is, like, if you were a DJ, you were out in the middle of nowhere by yourself in the middle of the night sometimes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And usually that that one DJ was the only person that was in that building
Mhm.
all by themselves. And, they would lock the doors and they would do everything. And usually they had a giant pane window. That way they could see the driveway or whatever,
Right.
just so they knew what was coming down their way.
Right.
I know this because that's still WMVR.
Yeah, Adrienne Barbeau in The Fog, her character.
Right.
That was one mistake I noticed that they made in this film, where they put in the not that they had a security officer, because that was fine that they had, sure, okay, maybe he's a popular enough DJ and they're worried enough about all of their equipment that they have somebody in for security. But when they were going to check things out, they have the security guy passed out fast asleep listening to his own radio with different music and a hot steaming cup of coffee that would sorry. Yes, Hinata, you can be part of the show. Okay.
Yay! Our
She's
mascot.
back. She keeps knocking my mic cable is the problem, so I'm sorry, everyone. But yeah, it was like, how fast can you fall? I mean, like, I can fall asleep pretty fast for some reason when I'm sitting up, rather than going to bed takes me a while sometimes. But that your coffee cup is still steaming hot, and I wonder if they were doing that for like, oh look, we'll show that it isn't just cold coffee, but it's like, but he fell asleep before his coffee even quit steaming, man. Like,
Right.
Right.
so that was the one big mistake that I noticed in the movie, and it's stupid, tiny little things like that that I notice, and people are like, you're taking it too seriously. You're
Right.
making a big deal out of nothing. It's like,
That's actually a thing that I see out of a lot of movies. That reference right there. They could be like sitting back, they could be almost sleeping, and here's this coffee that's just so freaking hot that you swear it came from McDonald's.
or the coffee pot.
Sometimes that aren't real cups of coffee either. They're props and they're made to always
Right.
look like they're steaming.
See, nowadays, if they remade that scene, they would just do the CGI on the steam,
Right.
So, but as far as I'm concerned, this movie must be watched by everybody. I had an absolute blast rewatching this for the umpteenth time. And quite frankly, like rewatching scenes like when his mom is going through his album collection, and I'm sitting there going, have it, overrated, have it.
I think he passed by a Sabotage album too. I think it
Yeah.
was Dungeons Are Calling.
That and the Impaler album, and of course the old school cover for Megadeth's "Killing Is My Business," which shivers, memories.
It kills me that people today, some of my the younger friends of the family, I have one of them who is a huge Metallica fan. He's a bass player, and so he also likes Primus, because I always, he'll be like, oh, I love this and I love this. I'm like, can you play Tommy the Cat yet? Shut the fuck up, man. But he's a huge Metallica fan, and he hates Dave Mustaine so much. He will not listen to any of it, and he's like, he fucked over Metallica, man. I'm like,
No,
okay,
Other way
excuse
around.
me,
depending on who you talk to.
but he's firmly Team Metallica. I'm like, you weren't even alive when all of this shit was going on. This is like, if I was to start going off about like, well, Janis Joplin really, I don't know what she didn't fuck anybody over, but I mean, like the same thing where I'm like, this was my mom's music, and I'm like, you're as old, yeah, I'm like a mom age to you.
Yeah.
I'm as old as your mother, and you're bitching about your mom's music. It makes no sense.
Did you smack him on the back of the head? Because I would have.
The Gibb smack.
Oh, I have a number of times with this
Yeah,
kid, just because
exactly.
like he's terrified. Hold on. I'd like to thank Meatloaf and Phil Anelmo for coming. Phil Anselmo, maybe. Some person. Anselmo, yes. Okay. I got to see him.
Okay.
The Slayer.
I think
And
I'm
Primus.
Selmo in that.
Well,
But
yeah.
I just went like,
Anyway,
Jesus
so here's
Christ, I'm like, so here's the deal. Kids
we
these
keep
days.
talking about metal, and I just want to keep talking about metal, but we were talking about a movie which featured metal. That therein lies this is I knew the dangers going into this. and I have no regrets whatsoever.
No
So,
regrets.
Del, what do you give? 1 out of 5? What do you give this?
First of all, I'm going to do our last comment about metals.
Okay.
Last squirrel. Separate the drama from music like Vince Neil had a beef with Axl, or with Mick Mars leaving Motley Crue. I still like Motley Crue and Mick Mars' new music.
Mm-hmm.
James, would you do anything for love?
I would do
I'll do
anything
that.
for a Klondike bar, but
Okay.
I was going to
You
say
won't do
that Vince Neil is the beef right now, if you catch my drift. If you've seen him recently,
I don't know. I
No.
think he's lost some weight recently. I think he's trying to get back to it.
he still kind of needs to work on his live singing again.
Axl scares me now. I'm just like, what happened? You were like hot and skinny, and you had the bandana, and you did the little like snake
Yeah,
thing. And
now,
you're
now,
like,
he lo- now he looks like your uncle who's in the GNR cover band.
he's like healthy and shit. It's like,
Yeah.
get back on the heroin. Totally did not.
This
say
just in: Del recommends using heroin. Anyway,
that. Anyway, no, out of 10. 'cause
Ooh, I think
we've
it
been doing a
froze.
10.
1 out of
I think-
5.
I thought
Delphine,
we did 10.
Or we can do 10.
I'm gonna go like 7 out of 10 on this one.
7
I
out
was
of
really
10,
impressed.
nice.
Yeah, and I mean like, and I've given 0 or like before.
Uh-huh.
I
Oh, yeah.
enjoyed this. Yeah, I was good
Okay.
with it.
Pyle.
I'm going to go with 6. I mean, there's great things, but there's so much that could have been done differently. And I don't understand why a electrified ghost was stuck in the back of a police cruiser by metal. But, you know.
Well, Faraday cage, kind of
r-
trapping the electricity.
I have a question about that later,
But, yeah, I mean.
Right later.
because I don't want to get into it with Elvis. I don't want to do
Okay.
But, yeah,
Ron.
I mean,
Ron.
the sticks
Okay.
for me.
Okay, 6. 6 for Pyle, 7 for Del. Ron, what do you give this?
I've thought about this long and hard, and I'm going to give it 666 pentagrams.
It's a bit higher than 10, but sure.
6
We'll accept it.
pentagrams.
Okay.
So is he
Pentagrams
going 6.66?
on the FM dial?
6.66 pentagrams because metal.
KCUF. Fuck metal. Anyway, now, as far as I go, it's kind of complicated because on the nostalgia side, I want to give this a 10 out of 10. However, we all know that's not really possible. It's raw. It's nostalgic. It's definitely. I don't know if the director was a fan of the actual medals, but it does come off as one of those for the fans by a fan kind of vibe. For
I
that,
would agree with that.
I am giving this a 7 out of 10. I always enjoy it every time I rewatch it, and I identify with the character of Ragman so much because that was me in the 80s during high school, junior high.
I was
Yeah.
a witness. I bear
So-
witness to
Mm.
yes, UncleNecRo was Ragman.
It was better than Thanksgiving.
There's a picture of
It was
me.
so much better than Thanksgiving.
There was a picture of me in 9th grade and as a freshman, and I'm working in the library as a library aide, and I'm wearing a battle vest over.
Yes. Oh, I remember that battle
Oh,
as
yeah.
well.
Oh yeah, and
yeah.
I remember
We were on the
Mrs.
same bus.
Yeah, I remember Mrs. Crete asking me about the Ankh that I bought from I think it was Musicland in Sioux City, but
Okay.
and I had no idea what the Ankh was. I just saw somebody in my in a copy of my circus magazine wearing it, going, "I want to wear that now."
What's that? It's a curvy cross.
Yeah.
Cool.
It was a little needle thing. But anyway, so
Alright, everybody.
are we ready for the Wheel of the Terrible?
Oh,
Wheel of
no, we aren't.
No.
Wheel the terrible, turn, turn, turn. Tell us the lessons that we should learn.
Should I just kind of do an a cappella version of the song while you spin it?
Just a second.
Okay.
I gotta pull it up,
So
and then I gotta put it on a different window.
okay. Controversial opinion. I believe that Guns N' Roses peaked at Appetite for Destruction.
Same. Agreed.
I like AC/DC.
AC/DC was more or less like issued to you at Logan View, where I went to school. Like everybody I knew had at least Back in Black.
Right?
Oh,
Okay.
what do we have on here now?
Okay. So
All right, we are going to spin, and let's see
Oh.
what we get to watch next. Should be
Okay.
fun. Oh, Trick or Treat was still on there.
Oh, we're gonna have to watch it again.
Yay!
Nope.
Oh,
Monster.
God.
Third.
Raz isn't even here. So next time in a couple of weeks, we're watching Monstered.
None
I'm
of us
afraid
have
to
anything
ask.
sponsored other than
I have a feeling it has something to do with shit.
yes. This would be Raz's choice.
So the Golgothan from Kevin Smith's movie has finally gotten his solo from Dogma.
Great.
Anyway, so okay, Del, where can we find you?
You can find me here as Delphine on the Owlite Network. I will be on most Sundays, or I will be on pretty much every Sunday. Sometimes I have to sleep because I do that. What the hell is that? I don't know. It was something that Rad said we all had to like suffer through, and that he's been banned from choosing movies because he's made people watch it before. I will be on some Mondays and some Thursdays. We announced a bunch of our shows before. And Monstered, a cinematic masterpiece. Okay, so we know who some person is now.
Uh-huh.
And maybe not with the Owlite Network. I am still on the Dorkening Network over at Splash Pages. We come on every Tuesday. And by the way, this Tuesday, super awesome. This will be at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central. We have Eric Larson on, who is...
Really?
Yes, we have Eric Larson. Eric fucking Larson is going to be on the show.
Nice.
He's awesome. If you don't know who he is, he has done everything. He is the man behind Savage Dragon. He's done a bunch of different art for DC and Marvel, and was one of the founders over at Image Comics, and he is now the CFO of Image Comics. So come check us out, and you can find me on Facebook under... This body's name is Carrie Sanders, Kari. If you see a crow, that's me. All my links are there. Moving down.
Okay,
Wow, where can we
wow.
find you?
Well, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok, and it's all the same exact thing. Pyle Hazard. Everything got changed in the last couple of days to the image of the Lil Reaper. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Ron, where can we find you?
You can find me on YouTube and TikTok under Wolf Dojo. I'm primarily a martial artist. So most of my content is martial arts related. If you're into that sort of thing, check it out. That being said, I will be teaching a martial arts seminar down in Missouri, West Plains, Missouri, February 17th. And you can find more information about that on inks.org, INKKS.org, the International Neoclassical Karate Kabuto Society. Trying to get as many people or turnout as possible. So please come support us.
Mhm.
It's our inaugural event, and we will be doing many more.
Definitely,
Nice.
please tell us whenever you are teaching or in a conference down in Uranus, Missouri.
If it happens, then I'd be more than happy to visit Uranus, James.
Most people do.
I hope they have. I heard they have wonderful fudge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they do have a great fudge packing plant,
Mm-hmm.
and they also bury them deep in Uranus in their graveyards. Okay, so we're getting the squirrel signal.
Come on, Pyle. Get up.
You can
I
find
know,
me.
right?
You can find me at on the Allied Society and the show here, various blog spots, and I also do another podcast about movies called Movies and Beer, and that's just a voice one, so you don't get to see my ugly mug. So, and I used to have a beard too, so that fell off.
Yes, we freshly got to see James's face now.
Yeah,
Like, oh.
after the screaming died down, I assured everybody that I'll be growing it back, and you can see it once it got past the initial scratchy phase, which was hell.
All right.
Anyway,
Everyone, have a good night, and thanks for watching. We'll see you
bye-bye.
soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.